Hey everybody, welcome back behind the bar with me this evening. Tonight we're doing the damn thing again. I did this review of this beer last year. I actually did a vertical last year of 16, 15, and 14. And it is one of the OGs. This is Founders KBS, Kentucky Breakfast Stout. It is a highly acclaimed flavored stout. It's good for everyone. Ale brewed with coffee. With chocolate and coffee aged in oak bourbon barrels. This year is coming in at 11.8%. This was bottled 2/21/17. I actually like the labels. They changed it. It's more matte this year, not as shiny. And it has some like foiling to it as well. It has the cool Barrel Age Series logo, which is something they kind of started this year. But it looks sweet. And a new gold cap as well. So, little different bottle. The wording and everything's exactly the same. But the label is just kind of a different, like I said, it's just more of a matte kind of thing. I like it. I dig it. So, let's get it open and get it into a glass. Sorry if that was loud. See what we think of this bad boy. I will be honest with you. I actually have had this. I had it on tap last night. So I don't know if draft's different than bottle. I've let this sit out for a while. I got a couple bottles of this yesterday. I'm really getting sick and tired of local liquor stores selling 4-packs of bottles, single bottles. It's just kind of annoying. So I had to go to 3 stores to get a 4-pack, basically. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, sorry, my glass is a little dirty. But anyways, it pours out like KBS. It looks like, you know, just kind of pitch black, about a finger of kind of big bubbles, but it looks awesome, actually. It's kind of like a cinnamon mocha, good glass lacing already. A little bit of ruby bleed. Doesn't look terribly thick, but it's really holding the glass well. It looks really cool, really solid. If you remember my review from last year, I kind of had the discussion of if you should age KBS. And the conclusion I came to was no, but I also thought 16 was a little better vintage than the previous ones, just overall when I had them fresh. That's what I was remembering. When I had this on tap, I actually thought this was really good as well. So let's see what we think. Let's dive in, check out the nose. Oh, the nose on this is great, guys. I'm getting like a nice chocolate sweetness. Like nice, like baker's chocolate, soft, melted, like if you're melting baker's chocolate in a double boiler, like the aroma you would get off that. A nice, like lingering coffee note, a little bit of coffee bitterness, some nice roastiness from the malts. Like big, dusty, roasted chocolate malt. And then there's like a creamy vanilla note from the barrel that's awesome. And I also get like a little bit of nice dark fruit, like raisins, figs, dark cherry note from the barrel. Fantastic nose, guys. This is one of the better noses I remember on KBS in a while. So let's dive in and see what we think. Cheers, guys. Really good. Up front, I'm getting this nice barrel sweetness, kind of almost like a boozy barrel sweetness, with a nice like kick of like that dark fruit. Reminds me of kind of the dark fruit elements that you get from Bourbon County. Just like figs, raisins, plums, dark cherry. But then it goes right into like this nice, like really like powdered chocolate, like cocoa powder chocolate with a nice like roasted bitter quality from coffee. And then it kind of finishes with this nice vanilla sweetness and like a nice like malty roastiness. This is fantastic. I like this vintage a lot. Mouth feels really solid. I remember getting a little bit more barrel character from last year's, but you still get some really nice barrel notes. You're getting a little bit more dark fruits. You're getting a nice vanilla sweetness from it. And then you're getting just a smidge of booze just to let you know it was aged in barrels. And then a nice like tannic oakiness, maybe like a smoke, like, you know, char the inside of a barrel kind of note from it that kind of lingers on your tongue. It's kind of like that burnt tobacco element, but really, really solid, guys. Yeah, I really dig that. Yeah, it finishes like nice and like woody and tannic. I dig this vintage. It's definitely an A+ beer for me. It's not world class by any means. It's a few steps below that, but it's definitely for ease of everybody getting it. It's a widely distributed beer. It spends a year in barrels. I mean, it's does it say anything fun? Coffee, chocolates, put it in their caves. Which actually, if you ever go up to Grand Rapids, there's caves everywhere. That's where everybody stores their beer. It's actually pretty sweet. I was talking to the people at Brewing about that one time, and everybody kind of stores their beers down in the caves, which is kind of cool. Anyways, this is killer, guys. So the old question becomes, should you age KBS? And I really enjoyed last year's vintage quite a bit. I think I like this one a little bit better, but let's figure it out. 2016 KBS. Let's pour it out and see what we think. To another pretty dirty glass. Sorry, guys. I just randomly grabbed some glasses that I thought were clean and they weren't. I don't know if you can see that or not. So let's check out and see what we think of 2016. Holding this up to the light, this is actually a little darker. I'm not getting any bleed on this. This glass is filthy though. Jesus, guys, I'm sorry. But it is pitch black. Like I said, I'm not getting any bleed on that. A little bit more carbonation. I'm getting about a finger and a half on this one. That one wasn't quite as carbonated. Big soapy bubbles. Sorry, I'm kind of anal about this stuff, and I feel terrible right now. But it looks about the same. Looks killer in the glass. Let's check out the nose. Okay, so this one's kind of morphed into a really big dark fruit. Honestly, this almost smells infected. Big like plums, big fig, big raisin, enormous cherry, an underlying sweetness and some roastiness there, but I'm not getting any of like the chocolate and coffee and barrel notes that I got off that one. Maybe a little bit. This is, I pulled this out of the cellar and threw it in the fridge for like 20 minutes. It barely is very cold. It's close to cellar temp. Maybe a little bit of sweetness, like a little bit of vanilla sweetness, but overall, I'm getting more dark fruits than anything. That's definitely predominant flavor, which makes me nervous. Yeah, just big dark fruits. Let's dive in and see what it tastes like. Cheers, guys. Well, I don't think it's infected. No, I'm getting some nice, like, subtle chocolate notes, some nice roastiness. This is a much more subdued beer. That one was much more flavorful and in your face. You get a little bit of that vanilla sweetness. I will say the carbonation on this batch is better, though. This has got, like, a creaminess to it from the carbonation that didn't have. It's kind of a perceived mouthfeel. Yeah, chocolate, not really a lot of coffee to speak of. A little bit of that oaky tannin element. Like I said, a little bit of creamy vanilla, but I'm not getting like the charred barrel. I'm not getting much bourbon character at all. This is a much smoother beer. This is much more balanced, or it's just smoothed out, or especially around the edges. It doesn't hit you up front quite as hard, and it doesn't finish quite as bold as that beer does. I'm getting almost like a caramel note, caramel. Vanilla, not, like I said, no real coffee to speak of. That's completely died out of this beer. And a little bit of chocolate. But it's, like I said, it's much more mellow, subdued beer. If I was giving this a grade right now, this is probably an A beer for me. I believe I gave it an A+, but it's just kind of, it's muted. It's really muted. And the predominant nose on this is really it almost smells like infected Bourbon County. It really does. It's got that really a strong, dark fruit character that those beers had if you ever had a bottle of semi-infected, not the terrible ones, but the ones that were kind of in the middle. That's what I get from that. I dig it. It's nowhere near as good as this. It's almost it's on the A- range. It's right there on the border. And that's how I knew the label was different, because I was checking these out, and this is kind of that just like printed, it almost looks like just shiny printed photo paper, whereas this is really nice and textured and looks really good. But we're not done yet. We did a 3-year vertical last year. Let's do a 3-year vertical this year. I had one more bottle of, actually I think I have one more, 2015 KBS. Another thing, this year's vintage is 11.8. The 2016 was 12.4%. Yeah. And then the neck on the 15 says 11.2, and they don't have a back label on it like they did. This was bottled 3.5, that one was 2.24, and that one was 2.21, and this one was 2.11. So 17, 16, 15. And again, the question becomes, with beers like this, do you age them? We'll decide at the end. It looks the same in the glass, about the same carbonation, looks really similar, and another dirty glass to the 16. Let's dive in, check out the nose. I don't like the nose on this at all. This has got like a really weird wine characteristic. Dark fruits. A little like bitterness, almost like hoppy bitterness. But obviously it's not. But it's almost like a vegetal, like hop aroma. A little bit of maltiness. But just a really big like wine tannic dark fruit sweetness. It's kind of like if you added. It's kind of like you blended the noses of these two. But I'm not getting any coffee, any chocolate. It's predominantly dark fruits. Let's dive in and see what it tastes like. Yeah. It's kind of just a big dark fruit mess. Not mess, but again, you've lost the chocolate, you've lost the coffee. The barrel notes are there, but it's like a dark fruit barrel. One thing that I did hear, I don't know if this is true or not, but I read this today, that Founders changed up the barrels that they used this year. They used older barrels, like 12 to 15 year, or maybe even a little newer than that. But as opposed to younger bourbon barrels, they used stuff that had aged bourbon longer to try and get a little bit more character. With this, and I see that a lot with barrel-aged beers that are in younger bourbon barrels. You get a lot more of that dark fruit character. You don't get as much of the barrel notes of like the big, rich vanilla, those tannins and the oakiness and all that. Whereas you get that more from this one, and I think that's a big difference. Because this is just turned into like a really like subtle vanilla sweetness, a subtle like fluff kind of sweetness that's just kind of washed away by this just like dark fruit river. To be honest with you, it's lost the complexity, it's lost the boldness. Let's go back to this one. Yeah, the nose on this is just much more coffee forward, much more chocolatey, much more barrel. You get that nice smokiness from the barrel notes. Just like that, not smoke, but like that just like burnt barrel tobacco thing. Like that leathery. Yeah, that beer crushes the other two. I will contend once again that I would not age KBS. I wouldn't do it. I know a lot of people buy a lot of this beer and hang on to it. I've done that in the past, and last year I really don't have much 16 left because I tried to drink them all because I started to realize some barrel-aged beers just don't age as well. And this is one of them. Now maybe this being in older barrels will do stuff, but yeah. Yeah, this beer's, the 17, is far superior. I contend that's an A+ beer. Going back to this and then having these, I would contend these are both kind of A- to B+ beers. Whereas this one's much more complex. It's much more forward. You're getting much more of like the oak barrel character. That's killer. I dig it. And I'm bored, so let's do one more thing. Oh. Glassware collection off to my left. Let's do a cuvee. Not a lot, but a little. I need a new dishwasher, apparently. If you don't do a cuvee, what's the point? And lastly, the 16. All right, let's dig in. Nose is kind of a blend of the two. I'm getting a little bit more chocolate and vanilla and a little coffee, but it's predominantly dark fruit. Yeah, let's dive in. Yeah, the dark fruits from the other two, especially being a 2/3 to a 1/3 ratio, really take over the beer. Don't get me wrong, it's tasty stuff, but yeah, it still falls in this line. It's that A- to B+ beer, whereas it's A+. This year's KBS is really good. Congratulations, founders. It's the best vintage I remember in a while, and I even said that last year. I really enjoy it. Drink this beer fresh. If you can find it on tap, I thought that even on tap it was almost even a little creamier, a little bit more vanilla than the bottle. But yeah, it's a great vintage, guys. I enjoy it quite a bit. We'll leave it at that. Everybody liked this video last year, so I figured I would kind of do it again. And yeah, thanks for coming behind the bar, guys. Thank you for the likes, subscribes, and comments. Until next time. Cheers.